This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. Fellas, you've heard the phrase, look good, feel good, right? But why not add smell good to that too? That's where Sterling Soap Company comes in. First, Sterling Soap is 100% natural and has a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne. Second, there's a scent just for you. How about burgundy? Yeah, it's more than a color. The Sterling Soap folks blend natural essential oils with hints of mahogany, golden amber, and sandalwood. Or how about D503, an intensely masculine scent inspired by Legend by Mont Blanc. And third, you will feel good about the price. For just a little more than you'd pay at the grocery store, Sterling Soap will leave you feeling clean, refreshed, and ready for whatever's next. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Darren Hayes, host of the Pigskin Dispatch and Jersey Dispatch podcast. I hope you've enjoyed another great episode here on Sports History Network. Now, speaking of sports history, this episode was brought to you by Firefly Books, and they have two great ones for you this summer. For basketball fans, they have the NBA 75, the definitive history by author Dave Zarum, who's appeared on our Jersey Dispatch podcast recently. He tells about the experience, the thrilling journey of the NBA, from its humble beginnings to its modern glory. Uncover the untold stories of triumph, controversy, and the greatest stars of the game. This isn't just a book, it's courtside seats to over 75 years of NBA history. And for the golf enthusiasts, swing into The Golf Round I'll Never Forget by Matt Adams. Relive 50 of golf's most memorable moments through the eyes of the legends themselves. From Garcia's triumph at the 2017 Masters to Nicklaus' miraculous 1986 comeback, it's the closest you'll get to walking the fairways with golf's greatest. Get your summer read on. Grab a copy of NBA 75 or The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, available online or at your favorite bookstore.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
He was known as Little Poison. No, not that Little Poison. He was golf's Little Poison. And his short game far exceeded the nickname bestowed upon him for how great he was from 100 yards and in. Next, on Sports Forgotten Heroes, I'm going to talk about the great career of a World Golf Hall of Famer, Little Poison, Paul Runyan.
This is Sports Forgotten Heroes, a tribute to the stars who shaped the games we love to watch and the games we love to play. Stars who provided us with many thrills, but when their time was up, they faded away. We'll take a look back at their spectacular careers, their moments of fame, even if it was just for one season or just one game. And now, here's your host, Warren Rogan.
Hello and welcome to Sports Forgotten Heroes, episode number 157, Little Poison, Paul Runyan. He was one of the greats of the game during the 1930s, and what he did is long forgotten. Now, today's show is going to be a little different. As you know, every episode of Sports Forgotten Heroes has featured a guest to speak about the forgotten hero I want to discuss. Unfortunately, there are dozens of forgotten heroes who I want to talk about on Sports Forgotten Heroes, in which there really isn't anyone out there who is up to speed on such subjects. So for today's show, I'm going solo. This is the first time I've done this on Sports Forgotten Heroes, but I really want to explore Runyan's great career, and instead of overlooking it, I'm going to handle it myself and share much about the career of Paul Runyan with you. Now, before we get there, just a few reminders. Please follow Sports Forgotten Heroes on X at SportsFHeroes. Look for the Sports Forgotten Heroes page on Facebook. And hey, if you have a comment, you want to send me a note, have a suggestion for a forgotten hero you want me to discuss, please send me an email to sportsfh.info@gmail.com. That's sportsfh.info@gmail.com. Also, please follow, rate, and review wherever it is you are listening. And as always, thank you for your support. Okay, let's get into today's show about Little Poison Paul Runyan. So who was Paul Runyan? Well, he turned professional in 1925. He was not a big dude. He was actually pretty small in stature. Came in at 5'7", weighing all of 130 pounds. But he won 29 times on the PGA Tour, 37 professional wins all over the world. His first win came in 1930 at the North and South Open. Now, what was the North and South Open? Well, it was a heck of a tournament back in the day, back in the 1930s. Some of the others to win that tournament included Walter Hagen, Horton Smith, Henry Picard, Byron Nelson, Ben Hogan, and Sam Snead. And hey, if you are wondering who were the other great golfers of the 1930s when Paul Runyan won 29 times, listen to these names. You had Gene Sarazen, the first ever to win golf's Grand Slam. Henry Picard, Walter Hagen, Byron Nelson, Denny Shute, Tommy Armour, to name just a few. So it was a very competitive tour. Back to the North and South Open, it was a tournament that was eventually canceled because of the small prize purse. However, like I said, Runyan won that tournament in 1930, and it was the first of 2 tournament wins that year and the first 2 of his career, because later that year in 1930, Paul Runyan also won the New Jersey Open. Again, it was a good tournament. Others who won the New Jersey Open over the course of its time included Craig Wood, Byron Nelson, Vic Gezzi, and Johnny Farrell. Runyan's game was all about mastering the short game from 100 yards and in. And that's how he got the nickname Little Poison. It's because of how deadly he was with his short game. He didn't drive the ball far at all. I got to meet Paul Runyan on a couple of occasions, and in fact, I spent some time with Paul out at his home in Pasadena, California, long before he passed away. He told me that he practiced the game in 1-yard increments, and he did this because of the different lofts of the club, how the ball would come off the club face, how it would spin, how it would roll. And he said to really master the short game, that's how you had to practice it, in 1-yard increments. And who's to argue that? Like I said, Paul Runyan was not a very long hitter. So he had to find a way to adapt and overcome. And he did so with the short game. He thought you needed to be that accurate to be that good. You know, Gary Player was a heck of a short game player too, but he was even a better bunker player. And when you practice a specific area of the game like these guys do or did, Gary Player never left a practice session without sinking at least one shot out of a greenside bunker. Didn't matter how many strokes it took. Didn't matter what time of day it was. He would not leave a practice session until sinking a ball out of a greenside bunker. Runyan practiced relentlessly, especially from 50 yards and in. He really believed that every golfer could improve their game with short game practice. He advocated creativity. He advocated the bump and run, spin control, choke down swings. That's the kind of game that Paul Runyan played. Now, getting back to his tournament game, like I said, he won twice in 1930. He also won twice in 1931. 2 more wins in 1932. And in 1933, he dominated the PGA Tour. He won 9 times. Now, how special is it to win 9 tournaments in 1 year? Well, he was the first to ever win more than 8 in a single PGA Tour season. And in fact, to this day, he is still one of only 6 golfers to win at least 9 PGA tournaments in a single year. Byron Nelson, of course, holds the record. He won 18 in 1945, including just an incredible 11 in a row. In 1946, and I'm not doing this in chronological order, in 1946, Ben Hogan won 13 times. In 1950, Sam Snead won 11 times. In 1948, Ben Hogan won another 10 times. In 1933, Paul Runyan won 9 times. Again, the first golfer to ever win 9 tournaments in one single season. The other 2, to round out the 6 golfers to have done it, were Tiger Woods in 2000 when he won 9 times, and Vijay Singh in 2004 when he won 9 times. You know, when we watch golf on television today and we see Scottie Scheffler out there, we think about, oh man, how great is he? And he is great. And we think about how he dominates, and man, does he dominate. But Scottie Scheffler has not won 9 times in one season, nor has he won 8 times in one season. Certainly, he's still young and has a way to go, but the most he has won in a single season to date was last year, 2024, when he notched 7 PGA Tour victories. Now, those 9 wins that Runyan carded, it's just fun to hear some of those names because some of these tournaments, well, all of these tournaments don't exist. He won the Agua Caliente Open, the Miami Biltmore Open, the Virginia Beach Cavalier Open, the Eastern Open Championship, the National Capital Open, the Mid-South Pro where he teamed with Willie McFarland to win. And then he won the Mid-South Open where he tied with McFarland and Joe Turnessa. Runyan also won the Miami International 4-Ball with Horton Smith and the Pasadena Open. Now, not only did he dominate by winning 9 times in 1933, from 1930 until 1936, that 7-year stretch, he won at least 1 tournament every year. Pretty amazing. He followed the great 1933 season with another 6 wins in 1934 and 4 more in 1935. But let's go back to 1934 for a moment. That was the first year the tour had an official money list. And in 1934, his 6 wins won him $6,767. That was number 1 on the official money list. So Paul Runyan led the PGA Tour in earnings in 1934 with $6,776. Sure, we look at that number today, that's not a lot of money at all. But back then, $6,767 equated to about $135,000. Of course, things weren't as expensive back then, and $135,000 would have been a very good living back in 1934. But here's the crazy thing about it. Again, Paul Runyan won $6,767 in 1934, and his expenses equated to $6,765, meaning for all that great golf, winning 6 times on tour, Paul Runyan netted $2 in earnings. That's why almost all touring professionals had to have side jobs, and for the most part, they worked as club professionals. 1934 was also a landmark year for Runyan in that he won his first major championship. He won the PGA Championship in 1934. Now, the PGA Championship back in the day was played in a much different way than it is today. Back in the 1930s, actually all the way up to 1957, the PGA Championship was a match play event. And in 1934, Paul Runyan won the PGA Championship. Now, it was quite the tournament to master. On Tuesday, you had to play in a stroke play event, a 36-hole qualifier. Then on Wednesday, it went to match play, 36 holes. Thursday, a second round of match play, again, 36 holes. Friday, the quarterfinals, a 36-hole match. Saturday, the semifinals, a 36-hole match. And then Sunday was the championship round, the final round, again, 36 holes. In the quarterfinals, Paul Runyan downed Dick Metz 1-up. In the semifinals, he beat Gene Coons 4-2. And then, in a very, very close match, an exciting match against Craig Wood, Paul Runyan and Wood needed extra holes. They were all square after 36 holes of play. They were all square after 37 holes of play. And finally, on the 38th hole of play, Paul Runyan parred the 38th hole, Wood bogeyed the 38th hole, and Paul Runyan beat Craig Wood for his first major championship, the 1934 PGA Championship, 1-up. Like I said, in 1935, Paul Runyan won another 4 tournaments. In 1936, he won 2 more. Struggled a little in 1937, and really, when you take a look at it, most of his tournaments, he won 29 times on the PGA Tour. He won 2 in 1931, 2 in 1932, and 9 in 1933. So that's 13 wins right there. In 1934, he won 6. So that's 19 of his 29 wins. In 1935, he won another 4 tournaments. So that's 23 of his 29. In 1936, he won 2 more. So that's 25 of his 29. Didn't win in 37. His 26th win came in 1938. Again, the PGA Championship. Now, this was really something special. Again, the PGA Championship at this time was a match play event. It was the only victory of Runyan's season, and it might have just been the biggest upset in the history of the PGA Championship, certainly the greatest win of Paul Runyan's career. He downed Sam Snead at Shawnee Country Club in Smithfield Township in Pennsylvania. He beat Sam Snead in the championship round, the final round, 8-7. Absolutely incredible. Again, you had to go through a stroke play qualifier on Tuesday, then the first round on Wednesday. Thursday, 36 holes for the quarterfinals. Runyan beat Horton Smith 4-3. Sam Snead beat Jim Fowlis 8-7. In the semifinals on Friday, Paul Runyan in 36 holes beat Henry Picard 4-3. Snead beat Jimmy Hines 1-up, and that set up Saturday's final round of 36 holes. Again, Runyan won that 8-7. For his victory, he won $1,100, while finishing as runner-up, Snead pocketed $600. A legendary match. I got to spend a week with Sam Snead filming a golf instructional and a biography with Sam at his place in Hot Springs, Virginia, the homestead. And when I brought up the name Paul Runyan, Sam Snead looked at me and said, "Man, little poison. Whew, did he give me a tannin." Snead told me that he was regularly out driving Runyan by 100 yards or more, but he couldn't do anything with it. Runyan's wedge game, his putting game, the whole short game, his nerves, unmatched. Snead couldn't come close. This became golf lore, how finesse can destroy power, sort of the hare, the rabbit, and the turtle. Nobody ever thought the rabbit, the hare, could lose a race against the steady and slow tortoise. But he did. The same thing here. No one in their right mind thought that Sam Snead would lose to Paul Runyan, displaying all that power, that drive. But it's what happened. Runyan told me that during the match play events, after the morning rounds, it was really hot. It was sticky, humid, hot. He would go in and take a cold bath and eat a very light sandwich. Now, I don't know what the other tour pros were doing during their break between the morning round and the afternoon round, but Runyan told me that that's what he did, and he felt it kept him refreshed and rejuvenated. So when he came out after lunch for the afternoon 18-hole round, he was ready to go. He told me some of the other golfers already looked beaten. Well, this match was all Runyan. He grabbed his first lead, 1-up, when he parred the third hole, and Sam had a birdie, a bogey. Snead bogeyed the 9th hole, and Runyan had a par to go 2-up. The 11th and 12th holes is where Runyan really took control. He birdied the par 4 11th, and he parred the par 3 12th. Snead went par bogey. So at that point, after 12 holes of play, Paul Runyan was 4-up. Snead then bogeyed the 15th hole. So after 15 holes of play, Runyan was 5-up, and that's how the morning round ended. In the afternoon round, Runyan opened his lead to 7-up after birdies on the 20th and 21st holes of play, a par 4 and a par 5. He gave a hole back on the 24th hole when he bogeyed to Snead's par. That was the only hole the entire match that Sam Snead won. And at that point, really, it was still only a matter of time before Runyan put Snead away, as he birdied the 26th hole and the 28th hole, par 4 and a par 5. After both golfers parred the 29th hole of play, Runyan had an insurmountable lead of 8-7 to win his second PGA Championship, his second major. Runyan only won 2 more times on tour after that, 1939 and 1941. But by that point, he had established himself as one of the great golfers of his day. Again, 29 tournament wins, beginning with his first 2 wins in 1930. Paul Runyan also played in the Ryder Cup twice. In 1933, Great Britain won the Ryder Cup 6.5 to 5.5. Unfortunately, Runyan lost both of his matches, but he did gain a little bit of revenge in 1935 at Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey. The U.S. won 9-3. In that match, Paul Runyan was 2-0. He teamed with Horton Smith to win in foursomes, and then he defeated Dick Burton of Great Britain in singles 5-3. Now again, Runyan only won 2 major championships, both the PGA Championship, again in 1934 and 1938. His best finish in the Masters was 1934 when he finished third, and he did it again in 1942. His best finish in the U.S. Open occurred in 1941 when he finished fifth. But as late as 1951, Paul Runyan still had game. After 3 rounds of the U.S. Open, he was in the lead. His best finish at the British Open, or the Open Championship, occurred in 1961 when he finished 18th. Paul Runyan was elected into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1990. He taught for 75 years and was all about the short game. He taught such great players, or worked with such great players as Jack Nicklaus, Gene Littler, Phil Rogers, Frank Beard, Jim Faree, and the great LPGA player Mickey Wright. Here are some great quotes by Paul Runyan, quotes I think that all golfers should take to heart in their own game. Paul Runyan said, "No matter how far you drive, you have to chip and putt. Don't let the bad shots get to you." He also said, "Don't let yourself become angry. The true scramblers are thick-skinned, and they always beat the whiners." I like that one a lot. Either focus on hitting the target or improving your technique. You cannot do both at the same time. At his induction into the World Golf Hall of Fame, Runyan said, "Through necessity, I began my lifelong devotion to the short game, searching for shortcuts that would somehow let me compete and hopefully excel. In a world of stronger players, I have taken some pleasure out of being the little guy who has beaten the big fellows, and I would like to be remembered as the best of the truly short hitters." Well, I think that Paul Runyan is considered to be one of the best of all time. Sam Snead said, "I don't think anybody ever got more out of his short game than Paul Runyan. He could get the ball up and down out of a manhole." Golf Magazine once said this about Paul Runyan: He has probably been the most influential short game instructor. Untold thousands have been taught his methods for putting and chipping. Runyan wrote a couple of books on the short game. His most influential just might have been The Short Way to Lower Scoring. There's another great short game instructor who recently passed away, Dave Pelz. I spent a lot of time with Dave, and he used to speak very highly of Paul Runyan, and his methodology was somewhat similar. He always said that you have to score from inside 150 yards. Though that's where you would knock strokes off your game. Certainly, players can bomb the ball 270, 280, 300, 320 yards. It's crazy what golfers can do today. But if they can't score from inside 150 yards, it really doesn't matter how far you hit the ball. Like the saying goes, you drive for show and you putt for dough. And it really is true. Runyan loved the game of golf, and he played as often as he could. In fact, he played in the annual par 3 competition the day before the Masters at the age of 91 in the year 2000. That's the kind of golfer that Paul Runyan was. So again, a different format for my show, Sports Forgotten Heroes today. Really no one out there to talk about the great career of Paul Runyan, and that's a shame because not only was he a great golfer, he was a great golf instructor, and he contributed so much to the game of golf. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Sports Forgotten Heroes. And once again, I want to thank you all for your support. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Sports Forgotten Heroes.
The heel gets the heat. The babyface gets the cheers. But the jobber gets, well, the job done. And speaking of jobbers, Barry Horowitz wasn't there to win titles. He was there to build them. By selling every move, every storyline, and every new star that stepped into the ring. He was the secret sauce. And now, he's the headline in his new book titled, Wrestling is My Gimmick, My Life on the Wrong Side of the 3 Count. This memoir is a deep dive into wrestling's most underrated position and the man who made it an art form. Whether you're a fan of wrestling, a fan of sports history, or just love a great story, this book is for you. Again, that's Wrestling is My Gimmick by Barry Horowitz. Grab your copy today before the count strikes 3.